Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you may be in the world. Welcome to Gift of Healing TV. I'm Sarah Jane, your host, and I am delighted this evening because it's evening for me, to be joined by Enolia. And those of you who have been with us for a while will know Enolia, or met Enolia via our Today's Conversations programs. Enolia, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Sarah Jane. And I see your beautiful picture. I don't see your face, though.
Oh, well, let's hope that the recording is giving people my video. If not, I'm not worried about that.
I know.
Because I can see my video. So technical issues, folks, don't you love them? Providing you can hear me, that's the most important thing. I'm sorry you
Yes.
can't see me, sort of. Anyway, our program this evening is, what does it mean to share ancient wisdom to enrich people's lives? And this is an interview with Enolia, so this isn't something that is a conversation between the two of us. Well, it is, but it isn't. But I'm going to start by reading Enolia's bio that she has shared with me, and I am going to start by apologizing for some of my pronunciation. You'll understand why in a minute. Enolia has traveled the world to study with indigenous elders of the Ojibwa,
Ojibwe, yeah.
Ojibwe, Lakota, the Yaqui, Hopi, the Apache nations of North America, and the Mapuche of Chile, Toltec of Mexico, to the Luhya, Luhya of Kenya. Just to name a few. Oh, good, that's almost not quite. Enolia received the 13 rights of the Munay-ki from the Keros?
The Keros Indians.
Indians of Peru. Okay, that's that bit over. Her 20 plus years navigating the dynamics of the corporate world fortified her with leadership development, performance excellence, and empowerment coaching. Enolia holds a degree in mathematics and graduated in the top 1% of her MBA class. She networked entire IT solutions for global organizations in the profit and non-profit sectors, served on multiple boards, and is currently co-founder of the non-profit organization Expressions of Humanity Foundation. Enolia harmonizes corporate experience with a broad knowledge base that includes many facets of energetic medicine by sharing ancient practices and teachings through present-day experience. Enolia is a modern-day medicine woman, international speaker, counselor, and healer, empowering others to reach their goals. Thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Thank you. Thank you. I know that's a little bit of a mouthful.
That's all right. It's good to be put outside your comfort zone. Enolia, what I'd like to start with is share a little of your story. I know there's obviously been quite a bit of information in what I've read, but share a little of your story, how you came to do what you do, what guided you in some respects.
Well, that's interesting that you said what guided me, because it exactly was that. I loved what I did in corporate. I designed computer networks for a living, and I enjoyed that tremendously. But I had this longing of what I wanted to do when I wanted to go above and beyond what I was doing. I had this longing in my heart. I always loved Indigenous studies. I've always loved learning about people, culture, how they helped community. And it was something that stayed in my heart. And when I found out in my own lineage that I was part Cherokee and I had this African lineage and I didn't know the traditions of either, that even brought that longing even more. So it's like, well, I want to know about my own traditions. So it was at that time I decided that I wanted to find and locate an elder that I could learn from. And I attended the 13 Indigenous Grandmothers Council. And for those people who don't know about them, they were 13 grandmothers, and grandmother is an affectionate name for elder, 13 elders that were medicine women of their communities. In other words, they were selected by their communities to take care of the community, to be like the spiritual leader of their communities. And so when I went to see them, I think something right then and there just changed my life. And that seeing these powerful women being able to pray, being able to share, teach, and share wisdom was just phenomenal. And it was at that conference, I was like, I'm going to find a grandmother that's going to teach me. I'm going to find an elder that who would be willing to teach me. And my very first one was grandmother Isabel Mawaski of the Ojibwe Nation. I met her there and approached her, kind of awkwardly, and basically said, "Would you teach me?" And
Oh, right. Excellent.
meeting
No,
grandmother Isabel. Yes.
turn your camera back on. I am so sorry. I don't know what happened there, but we got you back.
Okay.
So carry on.
So it was at the 13 Indigenous grandmothers that I met grandmother Isabel Mawasaki, who was my first elder and teacher. And so in meeting her, that led to a string of me, what I call doing my work, learning the Indigenous teachings way, and then reflecting and integrating that back into my life, and then coming to the next teacher, and then learning the Indigenous teachings way of the Lakota, and then reflecting that back into my life because I went on a vision quest. I learned from grandmother Shirley, beautiful, beautiful woman, unbelievably knowledgeable in wisdom and women's empowerment, and I was just I couldn't get enough information. I was just like the ultimate student. And so all of these ended up leading to when I finished with corporate, and I eventually took like 100-mile walk across Kenya. It was like the most ultimate thing that I could do. It had me reflect on my whole life of where I wanted to be and how I wanted to leverage the skill set that I had. And that's kind of where it was born, on that walk. And then once I did that walk from Kenya and I came back, that's when I started organizing and creating my new business and Infinite Possibilities Journey to Empowerment, which is now changed to Enolia LLC because it's just me doing my work. But I learned to engage with various different cultures, learn their traditions, learn from their wisdom keepers, and really, really embody it so that when I teach and when I coach and when I lecture, there's a foundation of that incorporated there of what I've learned. So it isn't even about me. It's really them. I actually want to say that I want to say thank you to every person that's ever taken the time to teach me. And there's so many of you that I can't even begin to say thank you enough, from every one of the cultures that taught me so that I could integrate that in and become the speaker that I am now.
And it's amazing, isn't it, when you touch lives that are so different to your own and you're open to listening to their story, their lives, their culture. Because I was lucky enough to spend a very tiny bit of time with the Nez Perce in Idaho. Mm-hmm. So absolutely listening to their history from their perspective. And it is really important to do that. So the work that you bring, that sharing ancient wisdom to enrich people's lives. So do you want to share a little about some of the things that you're actually now sharing so that you're actually doing that?
Well, so I'll talk about one of my retreats, which is the last retreat that I had was in January. I had it in Florianopolis, Brazil. And it was a women's empowering retreat, a women's empowerment retreat. And really, what it was about was learning how to reflect inward and then bring the best, not only just the best parts of ourselves, but learning to use our voice and have a voice. Now, one of the things that women in the United States, many of us, have not done is that we've never gone through a rite of passage. And so, in incorporating in that retreat, a woman's rite of passage really taught women to value the sacred divine from many perspectives. And I was able to do that from the perspectives of the Mapuche women when I learned from Luz Clara, and I learned from the Mapuche women the value of what it is to be a strong woman and a warrior inside, and Marcela Lobos, to look at the divine feminine and to look at the different stages that we are at in our femininity and what they mean and how important those aspects are. When I learned from the Ojibwe compassionate leadership, that we don't have to raise our voice or to step on someone in order to be a leader, that it doesn't mean the belittlement of someone to rise up. So, and then, to learn from the Lakota of just women's empowerment, how to hold space, how to motivate and inspire someone, and then doing all of these things without having to say, well, I learned from such and such a person, and I learned from so and so that you have to do it this way. No, that's not the approach. Really, it's about asking the right questions. Asking the right questions. And then that way, you're not imposing a belief system on anyone. But what you're doing is you're inspiring someone to think for themselves.
Yeah.
And the way that my retreats are set up is that I hold the space and I hold the process and I take you through the process. But it works as much as you put into it and really what work you want to do for yourself, because you'll question yourself in that regard. So that's how I've been able to do that. And I hold retreats all over the world, or when I work with women's circles or groups, that's how I do it.
And it's lovely to bring in the energies. I think so many people are opening to, yes, spending the time that I did, and it was for a totally different project. It wasn't for anything to do with healing, but listening to them, and being shown certain things and the camas fields, etc., etc., and listening to them and getting to experience a little bit of their culture,
right?
And that was beautiful and eye-opening and heart-opening.
Yes.
And that's what it is about, isn't it? We should. No, correction. I'm not going to tell people what they've got to do. No, because I don't like being told what I've got to do. But when we open up to the different cultures, the different ways of being, it isn't about that's right, that's wrong. That's what feels right for me. That doesn't feel right for me. And as for I don't know if you feel whether you felt everything was totally right for you, but the energies of things spoke to you.
Well, it's interesting because you have to find the common denominator with all of us.
Yeah.
So here we are, we're all together. Okay, I don't know you, you don't know me. What's going to bring us together? And that's been the biggest question a lot of people ask. And so energies come in different flavors, right? So the first energy that's always introduced for me is a smile. First of all, the smile is welcoming. I'm happy you're here. I'm happy to receive you. You can feel safe with me. Okay. The energy of holding space. I'm going to ensure that everybody is aware that we are doing something very, very special here, and that you can feel vulnerable here, and not necessarily feel that you're going to be attacked or anything, that you are in a space that is safe. So the energy of that, then the energy of what brings us all together. What is the common denominator? And sometimes it's not necessarily words. Sometimes it's a song. Sometimes it's singing to one another, singing with one another, and finding the fact that we all enjoy song, or we all enjoy an activity together that breaks the ice to say, oh my goodness, she's just like me, or he's just like me. And that all that we perceive that separates us isn't what separates us. It's the perception itself that separates us. And then, especially when teaching, sometimes it's not necessarily needed to state what you're stating. It's the energy of asking the question, right? Because the question isn't saying, I know this, you don't, here it is. The question isn't challenging your belief system is this, my belief system is that, so figure it out and you have to conform to my way. It's just basically saying where you are, who you are, and how you're thinking. How do you feel about this? And then listening, number one, the energy of listening, because the energy of listening is allowing someone to be heard and that their voice counts and that you're not interrupting them, that you have compassion for what's being said, and that they are being fully listened to. So all of those aspects are energies, and how we perform them so that people feel that they can grow, they can be vulnerable, they can say what they have to say, or they can be listened to, it means the world. That's it.
Absolutely. There is a tradition somewhere about the speaking stick, isn't there?
Yes, the talking stick. Yes,
the talking stick, and I love that. And yeah, we were talking before, and I was saying, yes, I was with my mum and my two sisters at the weekend, and it was just like everyone was interrupting everybody. And I was thinking, and just before you joined me, before we were, and I was just like, I'm thinking, I'm going to have to introduce a speaking stick when we get together next time.
The talking stick is wonderful. Yes, it is.
Yeah. Yeah, carry on.
Oh, no, because most people know about the talking stick, which is basically you take a stick and while you're sitting in circle, and no one speaks while you have that stick, and then it passes to the next person. So you're fully listened to, you're fully spoken, and no one interrupts you, commiserates, or anything, and that stick is passed to the next person, and then they fully speak all the way around until everyone is fully spoken to. And really what that's commemorating is that there's no one above you, below you. There's no one in front of you, behind you, that everything that has to be said has to be heard, and that every person's voice is equal. Those things are important. Those things are very important. So.
And I couldn't agree more. And it was just fascinating to listen, because the listening side of things has really come at me. I've known it for a while, but yes, it's been very strong just recently. But to me, it was also thinking about the different cultures, the different way people do things. And there's no right or wrong. It is that feeling, that energy of what feels right for me. And even if something doesn't feel right for me, is having a respect and an honoring that those individuals, that is how they choose to live and experience life.
It's so true.
And sharing all of that, as all being open to that, regardless of the culture, the more we can learn about each other's culture, the more we can find there are, I'm assuming, an awful lot of similarities.
It's so true. And I can't even begin to tell you. So, people might be wondering, okay, so where does the ancient text kind of fall into play here? when you study traditions and ancient texts, like I've read a tremendous amount of sacred geometry. I've read a tremendous amount on, let's say, the Buddhism, Hinduism, a little bit of everybody's culture.
Oh, have we got you back again? We're really having problems with technology tonight.
I know. Traditions play a huge role. And what it is that I've learned to listen and really, really glean the lessons learned from traditions, but adopt them into modern times, right? So traditionally, like when we listened, I think of the Emerald Tablets, and I've been rereading those again and again, and that was by Thoth and his sacred texts of the Egyptians. And really, people are running around going, what is our purpose? What is our mission? What is our purpose? What is our mission? And when you go back to the ancient texts, they basically say, hold your light. Our purpose is to hold the light. Our purpose is to look inside of ourselves, believe in ourselves, and bring the best of ourselves forward. And then if you can bring the best of yourself forward, then you're doing what the ancient texts have told you to do, which is to hold the light. Hold your light. Be that projected beacon of light in the midst of the chaos, like a lighthouse. So that those who need and are attracted to that light, you touch their hearts the right way. So why are you seeing so many people, basically holding workshops, find your inner light, because that's part of our purpose and our mission is to hold our light. And how can you hold your light when you don't even recognize what's inside of you? Another thing that I learned from the Lakota especially is that everything we need is right inside of us. And really, this is not just the Lakota, it's really most indigenous cultures. This is where it starts overlapping. But the tools that we possess, that we need to grow, to cultivate, to nurture, are inside of us. We don't have to look externally outside of ourselves. So how do you present this to a culture? Well, you basically have to instill and plant the seed, right? You plant the seed that fear is something that's learned. It's a bubble. It's something within us. And if we can recognize the attributes of fear and we can recognize what causes fear within us, then we can get over the hump and get over the boundaries of fear. That, we give away our power when we take on somebody's projected judgment. So stop taking it on. These are things that can help us grow leaps and bounds. Yeah. And they're inside of ourselves. And when we read texts, when we read the teachings of Jesus or the Essenes or the Bible, or it doesn't matter what you read, they're all elaborating to the same pieces. And we, try to put things together in puzzle pieces, and sometimes we don't get all of the pieces together. And there are some of us, some of the elders, that have all of the pieces together. And if we just dare to sit down and listen and to integrate, we are the walking example of what the elders are trying to teach us. And that's what I hope to be when I teach others. Is I want to be the parts of the puzzle fitting together so that you can see the whole picture, representing how my elders have taught me, so that that knowledge can be shared on. And if I have to put that in the underpinnings or the foundation of a workshop, or the foundation of a one-on-one coaching, or the foundation of a retreat, I do it.
Yeah. And so this is it, isn't it? So the sharing of the ancient wisdom to enrich people's lives is the sharing of that wisdom to help people to find themselves.
Yes.
To connect with themselves. Yes. And any healing that is required to help them to move past their past.
Yes.
Move forward from their past, to learn and to grow from their past. and to realize just how amazing we all are, how special we all are. You know, every single, remember one day somebody said to me, "Oh, you are special." And I said, "I know, thank you." Because, and they know that I totally get, everybody is special. No one is more or less special than anybody else.
That's true.
We are all special and amazing in our own unique way. Like the cogs of a mechanism, it is important that we are all different to make everything work. So what you're teaching is what has always been known, but has been lost because we've managed to move into cultural ways of being that don't help us to be true to ourselves.
Either lost, disrespected, disregarded. You know, we all run around going, "Oh, you know, I want to grow, I want to grow." And then here are the answers sitting right in front of us, which is speak with your elders, learn traditions, and then glean what's the best of those traditions, and then move them forward. Times have changed. And so all traditions don't fit from when they were way, way in the past to now. But there is a lot of insight and a lot of wisdom that are right in front of our faces. And we're still, it's just like, you know, the water hose is right there and we're standing in front of the water hose and we don't see it and we're going, "Where can I go get something to drink? I'm so thirsty. Where can I get something to drink?" And it's like, it's in front of you. Wake up. So what's happening too, even now, people are waking up and then they're going, "Who do I talk to? I want to talk to somebody about this. We're here. We're here. We've always been here." You know, there are teachers everywhere. There's enough teachers in the world across the board who have these understandings and are willing to teach and are willing to work with you and are willing to guide you through the process or are willing to have the conversation. We only ask that you just come with an open heart and an open mind. Because some of the things we learn challenge our belief systems. Some of the things that we learn challenge us to the very core of our being because we've only learned to be one way. But if one size were supposed to fit all, then we'd all be one consciousness and we wouldn't have individual personalities and emotional states and the things that individualizes us. We are a mirror to each other also. In the respect that, you know, there are the people who want to debate and fight. Well, that's us. It's inside of all of us. We all want to fight and debate and hold and have passion for our convictions. But at a certain point, to grow, to truly, truly grow, we have to allow ourselves to open our hearts and listen. And then engage that point of view and say, "Okay, what can this mean for me? And then how can I learn from this? And how can I share from a point of compassion and heart now that this has taken place?" So with that, you know, that's how we respect one another. And that's how we engage one another in a learning way. Yeah.
It's a matter of chuck the box away. There is no box. We put ourselves inside a box. But yeah, I was raised a Catholic, and many people I've spoken to were also raised Catholics, and that there are aspects, yes, there are aspects of belief I still have, but I've moved beyond that, and I've opened up. So yes, within the Catholic Church, we definitely believe in the angels and archangels. But the dragons, if they were brought in at all, would be a negative energy, when I've definitely moved well away from that being a negative energy, because for me, that's a positive energy. It's just opening up and saying, okay, I've been brought up, I've been trained, I've been guided this way. I'm in this tunnel, in this rut, in this whatever. I am going to climb out and I am going to see what else is out there. I am going to open up and just free my mind, open my mind and my heart to listening to things. And having been raised a Catholic, like Jesus and Mary Magdalene were married. Oh boy, when I read that in Dan Brown's book, The Da Vinci Code, but I absolutely knew the truth of it. The second I read it, I knew the truth of it, yet I was raised the way I was raised. So we can open up to things from the most amazing directions. And yes, there are many, many people. And our story is a brilliant way, our way out of the tunnel, the rut, the box, whatever you want to call it. Our story and what we've learned and what we've experienced is a brilliant way to help people think, that resonates with me. If that person can do it, I can do it. And that's why sharing programs like this is so important, the things that you bring, because you are absolutely right for so many people who will feel the energy of what you bring and the realness that you are helping them to find within themselves.
It's funny because people will ask me, well, how do you engage a tribe such that they would embrace you? And my core belief system is that there are many roads to the one. That my way is not the only way, or how I choose to do it is not the only way. So I look at it this way: if my heart wasn't open, then, I'd be in trouble, because in learning from different indigenous cultures, they all learn and approach it differently. Some tribes are singing tribes. Everything is sung. It's the song. What is the song of life? What is your body singing? Other tribes, it is basically dreaming and dream time. Others, it is about the dance. Others, it is about, the rite of passage, the cooking, the food. Each one of us has a facet of focus. When I was in the Middle East and I complimented this beautiful woman, she had a beautiful burqa on, and she was like, well, here, have one. And she gifted that to me. And it was the fact that we saw each other. We saw each other in our hearts, not how we dress, not how we approach God. We just saw each other and the beauty of that. And there was a mutual respect. And it wasn't,
oh,
in that regard.
welcome back.
Yeah. So in that regard, I've just learned to truly, truly respect people and to listen. When I meet someone, I fully engage in listening and seeing them as they are, without judgment, without attachment to anything. And then in embracing who they are, establish that mutual respect of how they see the world. And then what is it that I can learn from that? What is it I can learn from that? And we each have a language, and learning their language of understanding, and then able to mutually respect that language of understanding and ask questions that make sense. And then yeah, from that point on, when you can engage a person's conversation with an understanding of their belief systems, then you can understand how to ask the right questions. And I think that that's important.
The listening, though, can also help us to really, if we really, really listen, can also also help us to realize that we may be saying exactly the same thing from a different perspective.
Point. Yes, that is so true. That is so true. If we just take the time to listen.
Absolutely. And that happened when we were having a conversation a few weeks back. I was listening to you and I thought, you're saying the same thing as me, but you're just coming at it from a different direction. And so if we open, there are considerably more similarities with our true self, if only we'd be open to that.
Yes, it's so true. And really that's what I found, which is why I love the women's empowerment. I love doing empowerment overall. Men and women both need empowerment, but I love the women's empowerment because the commonalities are all there. They're dressed in different traditions, different attire, different ways of approach, or they're confined differently, but they're all the same. They're the same from South Africa to Angola to Brazil to New Zealand to Australia, all of the different locations that I've been, Canada. We as women, we all want the same things: our voices to be heard, to be seen, to be respected, to be independent to a certain regard, some more and some less. I mean, to be creative, to be imaginative, to use our imagination, imaginative. I don't even know if that's a word.
Yeah.
But to use our imagination. And it's so important that we realize this about each other. It was the most profound in South Africa. I was doing a women's circle in South Africa, and with South Africa's history, to have a diverse group was a little bit of a challenge. And what was so beautiful is that by the end of the day of the workshop, nobody wanted to leave. They were exchanging phone numbers. Everyone was exchanging phone numbers because for the first time, they were able to lay down what guards they had, to shield themselves and to show their hearts. And in the end, they realized, and they actually said it at the end, you want the same thing I do. I didn't realize that. I didn't realize that it's just as hard for you as it is for me. It's just as hard for me as it is for you. And that we're all the same. And that's what we need to do. That's what we need to do. I've held men's empowerment circles. The most powerful one was in Angola. And, understanding what's important to men is family. But in that understanding, it was amazing to see that everything that had been cultivated was through tradition, and that, they become the next elders, and that they had the opportunity to look at the traditions differently and never realize that that's right. I become the next elder. I can challenge some of these traditions and just make them a little bit more to my ability to adapt and wanting to adapt it, and that I'm going to be the person making the next decisions. I can cultivate a better relationship between a man and a woman by allowing my daughter to marry someone she loves, or allowing my son to marry someone she loves, which cultivates a better relationship, which contributes directly to what's most important to Angolan men, which is their children. So it's so much there that we can awaken to. There's so much there if we could just embrace the differences instead of trying to control them or to inflict in a colonized way, pushing ourselves to say that this is the way it has to be, versus inspiring from within.
And that's what I think so many of us are here to do. We've opened our minds, we've opened our hearts, we've chucked the box away, and we feel the difference within ourselves.
Yes.
And it's helping people in our own unique way, whatever that may be, to support people to become closer to themselves and to realize there's a lovely film called The Holiday, and
Mm,
Kate Winslet has the line in there, I should be the leading lady of my own life. Leading lady, leading man, it doesn't matter. We should be of our own lives. And this is what the ancient wisdoms, from everything I'm hearing from you and from everything that I feel, and I suppose I feel the things of what's right for me. And I'm not saying it's right for everybody, because you're not saying it's right for everybody. It's how does it feel? Connect with your feelings about what is being shared to step into your own power.
mm. And you know, what's interesting is that I embraced that fully because I took that and adopted it within my own life, changing my own behaviors to bring out the best in myself. And then realizing how important that was, I wanted to be able to share that with everyone else. So if you were going to sum up what is it that I really do is I read these texts, I adapt it within my own life, and then I see how it betters my life, and then I share from that perspective of how it bettered my life and how it can better yours. I look at ancient texts as it pertains to behavior, human behavior, and how best so that we can be the best version of ourselves, that we can dare to take the step and risk in a supported way, so that we could dare to dream a beautiful dream instead of being dreamt by everybody's perceptions of what we should be and what we should look like. You know, if we just dared to just stand and create our own framework system and then attract those to it, something new, a breath of fresh air, something alive, then you know we wouldn't be caught in these systems that don't work, because we'd always be creating something beautiful and something new. And you know, I challenge everyone, I challenge you to dare to step out and to be the best version of you. And if you don't like something, change it around you. Just change it around you. And if you change it around you, those who would support it will come. And that's the best thing that I've learned in this lifetime. You know, I wanted to always travel the world and really, really help people. So I created what it was that I could do to assist others. And I learned in the same regard that I created. And so I traveled the world to learn from various indigenous peoples as an indigenous person myself. And then I traveled the world to teach indigenous peoples and really just sharing what I've learned. It doesn't come from me, it didn't originate from me, it's always been here. But it is so important that we acknowledge, recognize, and share this. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. And it's the sharing, which is why we're doing this program, to share it.
Yeah.
So we are actually coming very close to time. So is there anything else that, I know we've talked about a lot, but is there anything else you'd like to share, to mention before we have to draw to a close?
Well, I do life coaching. I hold workshops, I hold retreats, and I hold workshops online too. So enolia.live, you know, it's standard thing. Um, Speak your truth and share what it is that is your wisdom. We have enough anger out here. We don't need to share anger. We don't need to share, you know, the things that are going to be aggressively pushing somebody to one point or one side or another. If you could just be the best version of who you are and then touch somebody's life in being that best version, can you imagine how it would be easy to move around in this world?
Mm.
And we need it desperately. Have the conversation with someone you're not comfortable having the conversation with, something enlightening, something beautiful. Tell somebody how beautiful they are. Smile at somebody you typically wouldn't smile at. That is a universal language right then and there. It is so needed right now. Um, I would just say, open your heart and open your.
Oh, bless. Technology has really
Is it again? And see,
tonight,
and see beyond what's comfortable, and
yeah.
see beyond what's status quo. I create an environment so that people can grow. I feel that that's my gift to humanity, to create an environment so that people can grow, whether it's one-on-one, a group, a retreat, an expedition. I do it in an indigenous way. And I celebrate self through ceremony, and I teach you to celebrate yourself through the ceremony that I've learned. I talk to my elders with great respect and understanding and listening, and I encourage you, because they're all around us, to talk to yours. See past the ego, and really just embrace the best of who you can be right now, because that's what's needed most.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you. Thank you for taking the time.
No problems, but the technology, we've got on with it, and then that's all we can do.
Yes.
So, folks, I hope that hasn't spoiled your enjoyment of this interview, because it's been wonderful having you here sharing with us. And Enolia and I will be back here on Friday, the 9th of October, with our guest, Linda Tello, working with the spiral. And then next week, so Wednesday next week, I will be back with my guest, Susan Brown. And Susan's going to be sharing with us Pathway into Oneness. So I hope you will join us for that. So we've actually got 2 programs next week, Wednesday and Friday for you. And Enolia will be back in the Friday program. So we'll be back again, folks. Enolia, what was your website again? Folks, on the About Us page, it's on there, but I will put it under the actual video as well. So if you're watching the YouTube video, it'll be underneath. So your website, Enolia.
Yes, my personal website is Enolia, www.enolia, ENOLIA.live, and that's for working with me in a medicine way. So for retreats, classes, one-on-one life coaching, shamanistic sessions, things like that. And then also I am co-founder of Expressions of Humanity Foundation, and that is to give back right to humanity, so you can look at some of the projects I'm doing, and that is at expresshumanity.org, EXPRESS humanity.org. So I hope you come out and support me.
Thank you so much for joining us, folks. Thank you for watching. It's been a real pleasure, in spite of the technology. Yes, and we will be back again. I'll be back, as Arnie says. So thank you, folks. Take care. Be safe. Stay well. Namaste.
Oh, bye-bye.
Bye.